My name is Selena. I just graduated from college and landed my first job. I'm still in training, trying to get the hang of everything. On my day off, my childhood friend Nina, who has been with me since kindergarten, asks about my new job. Nina is still in grad school, so she's always curious about my step into the corporate world ahead of her. So, Selena, how's training going? Any cool colleagues or seniors? Nina's eyes sparkle with curiosity as she bombards me with questions. Training's all right, I reply. The general training is done, and now I'm rotating through different departments. The company has this quirky vibe. We start every morning with exercises, almost like a sports club. I laugh, recalling the synchronized stretches. Exercises? Like what, jumping jacks? Nina giggles, raising an eyebrow. Pretty much, I nod. It's all about health first, and there are even clubs. We've got tennis, football, and a jogging club. I joined the jogging club, figured it was a good way to stay fit without pushing myself too hard. Wow, that's so cool. I wouldn't join any of them. You know I hate exercise. Nina shivers at the thought. You can quit anytime, I shrug, but it's a good way to network. Newbies like me can meet people from other departments. Networking? Sounds like school clubs all over again, Nina chuckles. Yeah, something like that, I say. But it's kind of fun. Everyone's really friendly. Well, almost everyone. Nina's expression changes, a hint of concern now. Almost everyone? I hesitate for a moment before I continue, my mind flashing back to a recent incident. There's one person who's been giving me a hard time. Her name is Mrs. Smith. She's the president's wife. She oversees HR, but it's like her main job is just to control and intimidate people. Nina frowns. What do you mean? I sigh. A part-timer named Catherine has been her latest target. A few days ago, Mrs. Smith cornered her in the conference room. She intentionally left the door open so everyone could hear. She was berating Catherine for taking time off without notice. It was awful. Catherine had tears in her eyes. That's terrible, Nina says, her voice soft. Why would she do that? I think she just enjoys having power over others, I reply. She's all sweet to her favorite employees, mostly the young guys, but if you're not on her good side, it's like she wants to break you. Catherine ended up resigning after that. It's the third time I've seen someone quit because of her, and I've only been here for 3 months. Nina looks horrified. That's so messed up. Can't anyone do something about it? The president's rarely around, and no one dares report her, I say, shaking my head. She acts completely different when he's in the office. I don't think he knows what she's really like. What about you? Has she... Nina trails off, her eyes searching my face. I force a smile. I'm managing, but lately, she's been paying more attention to me. After Catherine left, Mrs. Smith's been making comments, telling me I need to take more responsibility. She even gave me a bunch of HR paperwork to do, stuff that isn't even my job. Nina's expression hardens. Selena, that's not okay. You shouldn't have to deal with that. I know, I reply, my voice barely above a whisper. But what can I do? I'm just a newbie. I don't want to make waves. Nina reaches across the table and squeezes my hand. You're stronger than you think, Selena. Don't let her get to you. I nod, trying to take comfort in her words. But a part of me wonders how long I can keep enduring Mrs. Smith's wrath. The very next day, I find myself at work, staring at a thick file Mrs. Smith has just slammed onto my desk. These are the resumes and job histories of new part-time candidates, she says, her voice dripping with false sweetness. Compile the data and make interview sheets. I want it by Monday morning. I blink, taken aback. But today's Friday, and I have other tasks to finish. Then work over the weekend. She cuts me off, her smile never reaching her eyes. You seemed so interested in HR work after all. I want to protest, to tell her I had plans, a trip with my grandparents I'd been saving up for. But I know it's pointless. Mrs. Smith turns and walks away, leaving me with the impossible workload. I spend the rest of the day fighting back tears, my head pounding with stress. By the time I finish my regular tasks, it's already late, and I realize I'll have to pull an all-nighter to even make a dent in the extra work. Saturday arrives, and I barely make it to the train station to meet my grandparents. They're waiting for me, their faces filled with concern. "Are you sure you're all right, Selena?" "You look exhausted," my grandfather says, his eyes searching mine. I force a smile. "I'm fine, Grandpa. I've been looking forward to this trip for so long." But even as we travel, my mind is clouded with thoughts of the work waiting for me, of Mrs. Smith's cold smile. The weight of it makes it hard to enjoy the trip, and I feel guilty for not being more present for my grandparents. I keep telling myself to focus on the moment, to make sure they're happy, but the exhaustion is overwhelming. As we check into the hotel, I suddenly hear a familiar voice behind me. My blood runs cold. "Did you finish the work I assigned you, Selena? Or did you think you could just skip it and have a fun little weekend?" Mrs. Smith's voice is dripping with disdain. I turn around slowly, my heart sinking. There she is, standing there with a smug expression, as if she's caught me red-handed. "Mrs. Smith? What are you doing here?" I manage to ask, my voice barely steady. She smiles, a cruel smile that makes my stomach churn. "Oh, I have my ways of knowing where my employees are. You were boasting about this trip during lunch break, weren't you? I just wanted to see if you were ignoring your responsibilities." I clench my fists, my body trembling with anger. "You assigned me that work on purpose, knowing I had plans, just to ruin it for me, didn't you?" Her smile widens. "It's laughable how self-centered you are, Selena. You think you can take time off whenever you please, without consequences?" Before I can respond, I hear a calm voice behind me. "Excuse me, what's going on here?" I turn to see my grandmother, her face stern. My grandfather stands beside her, his expression dark with concern. "Who are you?" Mrs. Smith demands, her smile fading. "I'm Selena's grandmother," she replies, her voice steady. "And I'd like to know why you're harassing my granddaughter." Mrs. Smith blinks, taken aback. "I'm her superior. This is none of your business." My grandmother steps closer, her eyes never leaving Mrs. Smith's. "I think it is my business when someone tries to bully my granddaughter. And if you think you can continue treating her like this, you're very mistaken." Mrs. Smith's face pales. She opens her mouth to speak, but no words come out. My grandmother turns to me, her expression softening. "Selena, let's go. You don't need to deal with this." I nod, tears welling up in my eyes. As we walk away, I hear Mrs. Smith muttering behind us, but I don't look back. For the first time in months, I feel a sense of relief, a sense that maybe, just maybe, I don't have to face this alone. The following Monday, I arrive at the office with a renewed sense of purpose. I know Mrs. Smith won't make things easy for me, but I also know I have people who care about me, people who will stand by me no matter what. As I step into the office, I see Mrs. Smith at her desk, her face twisted in a scowl as she avoids my gaze. I take a deep breath and walk to my desk, feeling the eyes of my colleagues on me. They've all heard the stories, they know what's been happening, and today, as I start my work, I decide I won't let Mrs. Smith's cruelty define my experience here. A few hours later, I'm called into the president's office. I feel a knot form in my stomach as I walk down the hall, unsure of what to expect. When I enter, the president is sitting behind his desk, his expression unreadable. "Selena," he says, motioning for me to sit. "I've been made aware of some troubling behavior within the HR department. It seems my wife has been overstepping her bounds." My heart skips a beat. "Sir, He holds up a hand. "I want to apologize for what you've been through. I had no idea this was happening. I've spoken to Mrs. Smith, and she will no longer be involved in HR matters. If there's anything else you need, please let me know." I blink. unable to believe what I'm hearing. Relief washes over me, and I nod. Thank you, sir. As I leave his office, I feel a weight lift off my shoulders. Maybe things are finally going to change. Maybe I can start enjoying my job without the constant fear of Mrs. Smith's wrath. When I return to my desk, Nina's words echo in my mind. You're stronger than you think. I smile, realizing she was right. I've faced the worst, and I'm still standing. And now, I'm ready to move forward, one step at a time.